The day I married a man everyone called a failure. My entire family laughed. Not quietly, not politely. They laughed in my face. 'Cause to them, I had just destroyed my life. A successful woman, throwing everything away on a man with no money, no ambition, and no future. They thought I had made the worst decision of my life. What they didn't know was that every part of that decision was calculated. Because that deadbeat husband, he wasn't my mistake. He was my protection. And the moment my family realized the truth was the moment they understood. They had already lost everything. Before I tell you how this all unfolded, let me ask you something. If the people closest to you only stayed around for your money, how far would you go to protect yourself? Would you walk away? Or would you outsmart them? Let me know in the comments. And if you love stories filled with strategy, betrayal, and shocking twists, make sure you subscribe to Broken Vows Stories. Because this story, it's not just about revenge. It's about control. My name is Elena. And everything started the day I inherited money. Not just money. Fortune. Generational wealth that came with conditions, expectations, and attention. Too much attention. First, my family was supportive, proud, celebrating me. But slowly, their behavior started to change. Started with small things. Can you help me with this investment? Just a short-term loan. You know we're family, right? First I said yes. 'Cause that's what you do. Until I realized something. They weren't asking. They were expecting. The turning point came when I overheard something. Conversation. My name mentioned. Followed by laughter. They don't even realize how easy it's going to be. That's when I understood. I wasn't family anymore. I was an opportunity. So I made a decision. One that didn't make sense to anyone else. I got married. To a man named Marcus. A man with no money. No status. No reputation. At least, that's what everyone believed. Before the wedding I created something very specific. A prenuptial agreement. Not to protect myself from him, but to protect myself from everyone else. It included clauses that locked my inheritance into a separate structure, blocked external financial influence, prevented any family claims through marriage ties, redirected legal control into a private trust. On paper, it looked like I had married down. In reality, I had built a fortress. When I introduced Marcus to my family, they didn't even try to hide their disappointment. Is this a joke? You can't be serious. You're throwing your life away. And I let them believe it. Because the more they underestimated me, the safer I became. Marcus and I didn't just marry. We performed. We lived a life that looked unstable. Small apartment. Modest lifestyle. Public failures. We made it look like I had lost everything. I stopped spending. Stopped showing success. Stopped being available. And slowly, something changed. The requests stopped. Because once they believed there was nothing left to take, they lost interest. No more calls. No more invitations. No more family support. And then came the disrespect. They started talking about me, mocking my choices, laughing at my downfall. And that's when I knew the plan was working perfectly. Months later, something changed again. Money problems, failed investments, bad decisions. And suddenly, they remembered me. The same people who laughed at me came back asking for help. But this time, the tone was different. Desperate. Excuses. Apologies that didn't feel real. And that's when I introduced them to reality. The legal structure. The agreements. The protections. Every door they thought they could walk through was closed. By me. That's when I told them the truth. Marcus wasn't a mistake. He was part of the plan. From the beginning. Marcus wasn't broke. He was private, strategic, and loyal. Everything my family wasn't. The final step. Severance. Legal. Emotional. Permanent. No access. No connection. No second chances. They thought I ruined my life by marrying the wrong man. But the truth is, I chose the right one to protect everything they didn't deserve. The moment my family realized they couldn't touch my money anymore, they thought the game was over. They thought I had nothing left. No power. No influence. No future. And that's exactly what I wanted them to believe. Because when people think you're powerless, they stop being careful. They start making mistakes. And this time, I wasn't just protecting my inheritance. I was watching them expose who they really were. After I shut them out financially, everything went quiet. No calls, no messages, no fake concern, just silence. But silence doesn't mean peace. Sometimes means planning. A few months later, I started hearing things. Through mutual contacts, through people who still talk to them. Bad investments, failed business deals, large ones. And suddenly, their confidence disappeared. The first call came late at night. My cousin, voice shaking. We just need help, just this once. I didn't answer. Not because I didn't care, but because I remembered something. They only cared when I had something to give. Then came more. Messages, emails, excuses. Every one of them trying a different angle. Family loyalty, emotional guilt, shared history. But none of them realized one thing. I wasn't reacting anymore. I was observing. And then, they made the mistake I was waiting for. They tried to go around me. They reached out to lawyers. Tried to challenge the structure. The trust. Prenup. Everything I had built. But what they didn't understand was this. Every move they made only strengthened my position. 'Cause I had planned for that too. That's when I decided it was time. Not for revenge. For clarity. Gathered everything. Messages. Quests. Attempts to manipulate. Every conversation they thought I would forget. I invited them all. Same place. Same table. Same people who once laughed at me. But this time, the energy was different. They weren't confident anymore. They were cautious. I didn't shout. I didn't accuse. I just spoke. Clear. Controlled. And then I placed everything in front of them. One by one. Their confidence broke. Because it's easy to deny things in private. But in front of everyone, truth becomes louder. But here's the part they didn't expect. I didn't take anything from them. I didn't ruin them. I didn't destroy them. Simply, let them face the consequences of their own decisions. And that's when it hit them. This wasn't about money anymore. It was about control. And they had none. That day. Cut every tie. Legally. Emotionally. Completely. No access. No communication. No future involvement. And for the first time, everything was quiet again. But this time, it wasn't silence. It was peace. They thought I lost everything when I stopped giving. But the truth is, that's when I finally gained control. Top of form. Bottom of form. After everything. The strategy. The lies. The silence. The control. I thought it was over. My family was gone. My inheritance was safe. My life was finally mine again. For the first time in years. Felt at peace. Peace has a way of hiding things. And what I discovered next made me question everything. Because the one person I trusted the most had been hiding something too. Months passed. Life became quiet. Simple. Controlled. Marcus and I settled into something stable. No pressure. No noise. No outside interference. And for the first time, I stopped looking over my shoulder. Started with something small. Marcus's phone. Not a message. Not a call. Just a notification. A name I didn't recognize. Followed by one sentence. It's done. She doesn't suspect anything. My heart paused. Because I wasn't supposed to see that. First I told myself it was nothing. Work. Business. Something unrelated. But something didn't feel right. Because Marcus never hid things from me. So I did something I hadn't done before. I looked. Not because I didn't trust him. But because something inside me needed answers. What I found wasn't what I expected. It wasn't betrayal. It was something else. Messages, documents, records, going back years. Before we even met, Marcus wasn't just careful. He was prepared, strategic, connected. And then I saw it. Name. One I recognized. A legal firm. The same firm that helped structure my inheritance. Marcus didn't come into my life by chance. He was already part of the system. Not directly, not obviously, but enough to know. Enough to understand. Enough to position himself exactly where I needed him. That night I asked him. Not angrily. Not emotionally. Just directly. How long have you known? He looked at me. And for the first time, I saw something different. Not guilt. Not fear. But honesty. Longer than you think, he said. And then he explained everything. He wasn't sent to control me. He wasn't there to take anything. He saw something before I did. Pattern. Risk. A family that was already circling. And instead of watching it happen, he stepped in. Carefully. Slowly. Without forcing anything. That marriage, he said quietly. That was always your decision. I just made sure you had the right information to make it. And suddenly, everything made sense. Marcus didn't manipulate me. He protected me. But in a way I never saw. 'Cause real strategy doesn't announce itself. I looked at him and asked, "Why didn't you tell me?" He paused. Then said something I'll never forget. "Because you needed to see it yourself." And in that moment, I realized something deeper. This wasn't just about money, or family, or control. It was about trust. The kind that isn't built through words, but through actions. I didn't walk away. I didn't question everything. 'Cause for the first time, I understood something clearly. Marcus wasn't just part of my plan. He was the reason it worked. I thought I married him to protect my future. But the truth is, he had already been protecting it long before I knew I needed him.